Welcome to Honor Your True Story with Antonia Nelson, a podcast dedicated to sharing inspiring stories of hope, kindness, love, and compassion. Listen in as Antonia's guests share pivotal moments, forks in the road, ups and downs, and wisdom earned on the road of life.
Today, we're going to talk about a young woman's search to find her biological father. Our guest today is Nicole Howard. She's a wife and mother of four, born in Door County, Wisconsin, raised primarily by her grandmother, and always had a longing to solve the family secret, who was Nicole's father. After growing up as a fatherless daughter, it took Nicole until the age of 42 to finally solve the mystery, and she did. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so glad you're here. So, as a single parent, being able to be on the other side of it, not being in your skin, how was that for you growing up? What was that like for you? When did that start as a child? When do you remember that starting?
Probably mid-grade school, I remember. I always, as a kid, always wondered, you always wonder where's that person? Why are they not here? Probably around third or fourth grade is when it became real to me as to why there wasn't a dad around. And it wasn't so much me as it was being teased at school, kids saying very hurtful things about why my dad wasn't in my life. And so it became very like, okay, what did I do to make him not want to be a part of my life? Was where it went to as a child.
Sure.
So I would say that was probably around third or fourth grade that it became, I started making up stories and had this wonderful fantasy life that I was telling everybody that they didn't see me all the time in the summer because I was spending my summers in New Mexico with my dad and his family.
Yeah, well, that makes sense that you would, make stories to make sense of it all, right?
Yeah. Don't know why New Mexico. No idea why New Mexico was the place, but
but that's where you went.
Yes, that's where I went. Still haven't visited there in real life as an adult, but one day.
Yeah. So was it for you growing up that it was a don't, or we know but don't tell, or
it was more of just something we just didn't talk about? And I do remember a couple times asking and being very shot down at the times that I did ask. Being raised with my grandmother, she didn't know who my father was. And I think that always bothered her also.
Sure.
Not knowing, but she knew how I felt and she knew how much it bothered me, and there was just nothing she could really do to help. So
I suppose life goes on, right?
Absolutely. You get busy and, especially through high school, you get involved in as many things as you can get involved with. Looking back now, you see that you get involved with everything because you're trying to keep yourself busy and away from some of those questions.
Right.
And I haven't realized that until recently, that I'm like, that's why I was always involved in every possible thing I could be involved in. But the day I turned 18, I remember clearly my birthday. I was at my job in Fish Creek, and I took my lunch break and got on the phone and called the courthouse and called the child support agency and called anybody I could think of that would possibly have a record as to who my father was. Being so naive, thinking he has to be listed somewhere. And he just wasn't. There was never a child support case opened. There was never anything to have his name be on. So it remained this mystery. And I remember feeling so defeated at that point, because through my teen years, I always thought, well, once I turn 18, easy, I'm going to know. Find out anything once I turn 18. And I remember
Yeah.
being very defeated then at 18 that, okay, there's nothing here. I don't know how I'm going to find out. And maybe I won't.
Yeah, wow, to carry that longing to find that information out and thinking, at 18, it'll be easy peasy and I'll get it and everything will be good to go. And
Right.
yeah, back then they didn't even really have it, not like they do now where you can get anybody's DNA tested anyway.
Absolutely.
We didn't
Absolutely.
have
This
that
was
back
this was
then.
1997. So there
Yeah.
wasn't a whole lot of that then.
So this longing that you carry your entire 18 years, and then when there is nowhere that seems there's nowhere to go, what did you do next? What did you do with that information?
At that point I gave up. At that point I gave up, went on with my life with the typical, you're supposed to go to college and now you're supposed to do this. It clearly bothered me, and it clearly had an effect on me. There was a lot of unhealthy behaviors that crept in because of it, trying to fill that void of what I had and what I didn't have, so to speak. And it just got pushed to the back burner for a number of years. Obviously still wanting to know, just not having the energy or the know-how to go about doing it.
So I'm going to ask you to turn your volume up just a little bit.
How's
Awesome.
that?
Awesome. So, so when did this kick in again? I maybe, you have 4 beautiful children. Did that make it, bring it more to the forefront?
It did. When my first son was born, he is now 19 years old. Can't believe he's 19 already. But when he was first born, we found out that he had a genetic condition. When I think he was about 9 months old when we got the diagnosis. And at that point, you sit through all the doctor's visits and they want the family history and who carries what. And you go through all this genetic testing. And I sat there with this blank, the whole side of the paper blank, going, I don't know. And I remember questioning at that point and saying, this is what my son has. It's both parents have to carry it. So somewhere in our genetics, somewhere somebody had it, and being told, well, that's not in our family. And I said, well, but that's only half my DNA. And being very shot down. We don't talk about that. And I don't even know if it was in that many words, so to speak, but it was just made very clear that we weren't going to talk about it. So we didn't talk about it.
So even when your child's health is at stake, it still wasn't
Right.
getting
And
any traction.
that definitely lit the fire under me in my adult life, I think, because all of a sudden you become a mom and now you're protective. Now you've got somebody to protect other than yourself. And I wanted those answers for him, not so much for me. And that put a very different spin on my search and what I wanted to find out. But then I just kept having kids, so it got pushed to the back burner.
But I suppose it got pushed to the back burner, but and the need to find that out grew with every child you had, right?
Absolutely. And there were things about myself that I always wanted to know, why I was the way I was, because I definitely didn't fit in with my maternal side in a lot of ways. So then with my kids, it became the same, where, boy, why are, who are they getting this from? Where is this from? And always going, I wonder if that's from my dad's side of the family. Not know, and maybe I'm making it up or trying to make myself feel a connection there, but I just wondered, like, where is this coming from? Some of the behaviors and some of the different just mannerisms that your different kids have as you're having them through the years.
Right. And we know that, that there are those links that pass through. So I can only imagine that, kept spurring it forward. So where are you on the timeline now? So you had a couple more kids. So now you've got 4 kids. And
Mhm.
where are you in the search now?
So once my 4th child was born and final was born, he had a lot of health issues when he was a baby. So as much I remember feeling very torn at that point as a mom, because that fire had been lit back under me of wanting to find my father. But he had so many health issues and was going through different surgeries that, oh, it was this torn feeling of, oh, I want to find my dad. I got to take it away from me and make sure that I'm focusing on my child. And so it really wasn't for another, 2 years, want to say 2 or 3 years after my 4th child was born, that I decided, okay, now there's all these DNA test sites popping up. Now there's all these different things. I started off with, my husband and I both took a test through a company called 23andMe, and found out some really cool information about my husband on 23andMe. Like, not even gonna lie, his was fascinating. I found out, of course, that I'm 100% white European, which is big shock, I know.
Right.
Yeah. And but I went on, they give you a list of other people you're related to that have taken these DNA tests. And I had no close family. And I remember kind of going, really thought something was going to pop up, really thought, you have this grand thing, like you hear stories like, oh, a father is going to pop up, or someone close.
Sure.
And didn't find anything. I did find cousins that I knew I could separate, and I knew that they were somewhat distant cousins, like second and third cousins, that had to have been from my father's side, because there was no links on my other side whatsoever. Enough cousins with names that I recognized that suddenly it was a realization that he was somebody local.
How
Because
was that? How did that feel?
oh, that scared the hell out of me. Door County's not a really big place. So I mean, I had always lived with this. It was probably somebody up here visiting in the summer, so a tourist or somebody who knows where they were from. And all of a sudden I started to go, oh shoot, this looks like this is somebody here, a local person. And then again, I just let it go for a while. Kind of figured out, okay, I found some information, let it go. Again, being a mom, I was a stay-at-home mom at the time. So the focus was all on the kids and school. And I think we were homeschooling even at the time for a little while. And it wasn't until there was finally a sale, I think, that popped up on TV during some show I was watching, that was like, the ancestry.com DNA tests are on sale this week. And I was like, huh, okay. So I ordered one of those. Test came in the mail and sent it back in, and waited. For some reason, when I sent that test back, it was like I was waiting for an eternity. And I don't remember feeling that way when I sent my first test back. And this second one, for some reason, there was just this feeling of, I need the results. I need to see what's on there. There's going to be something there for me.
And was there any trepidation about that? About like, oh God, what if I do find out?
Surprisingly not.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, surprisingly not. A lot of people have asked me that. And surprisingly, I was just like, no, I'm going to find something out. This is what I've been waiting for. And the results came back. I got an email saying that my results had loaded, and I logged in, and I remember sitting there and staring at the computer screen. And it said that a close family member has matched up with you on ancestry.com. And they don't tell you who, they don't tell you what the relation is right away. They make you click through a couple things, and got on there, and I had an uncle that I had matched up with on ancestry.com. And it was a very common Door County name. It was a name that I had heard growing up. So it definitely was not a, who is this family? Who is this person? It was like, oh, okay. This is going to be interesting. And not that I knew them, but it's a small area, last names.
Right.
And family names. And took a couple days, reached out to him, sent him a message, and we kind of went through all the different scenarios on, whether or not uncle was the correct relationship, because it's, they give you what they think your relationship is. You don't know for sure that that's what it is right away. And we went through all the different scenarios. He went back and took the 23andMe test to kind of confirm if 23andMe would give the same result. Absolutely gave the same result of uncle. And we met for coffee one morning, and I think my little Grayson must have been just 4 or 5 at the time. He was just a little guy, and I got this wonderful family history of where this side of my family had come from, some history of them from coming to the county, health history, which was the most important to me with 4 kids. And I remember him asking me what I was looking for, and I said, I'm not really looking for anything. I'm not looking for a family. I'm just looking for answers. And that was that. Stayed in contact through email for a little bit. I did write a letter to each one of his brothers, because nothing can be simple. So me thinking, okay, it's got to be his brother. It's a family of 6 boys. So there's, who knows now?
Wow, 6. So you got to pick 6 to choose from.
Yes. One of the brothers was far too young to have been my father. So he was like, cool, let's meet. Let's have breakfast. I know I'm safe. And got to know him, which was really nice. We had a lot of the same friends, a lot of things in common, kids relatively the same age, which was interesting, and got to know him. And it was cool having that connection to this family that I never thought I would get to know.
Yeah, that wasn't in New Mexico.
They sure weren't in New Mexico.
Right? Yeah.
Right here.
Right in your backyard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then after that, I think I let it go again, because I had answers. Whether or not I knew who my father was, I knew who my grandparents were. I knew where they came from. I knew family stories. I had enough to go on and build a family tree and find out all these things. Found out that I was related to my best friend growing up.
Wow.
Like, how? What? And I had a group of 3 girls that I hung out with growing up, and all 3 of them were my cousins.
Huh.
And it's like, how does this work?
What was their response when they found out that you guys were related?
It was hysterical. just too funny. And, and again, didn't go any further than that for a very long time. Shortly after that, I would get notifications every so often from Ancestry or 23andMe that would say a close family member has tested. And I'd get all excited and get on there and go, I don't know who you are. But then I could email the two uncles of mine and say, this is who I, popped up. Do you have any idea who this is? And they were like, oh, yep, this is your cousin, And I was like, okay, that's so-and-so's son. So we eliminated another brother. Happened again with another cousin, eliminated another brother. So it was just kind of organically, it worked itself down to all of a sudden we were down to only 2 brothers that were left. And then it became real. Then it became, do I need to find this out or do I not need to find this out? And what do I need to know? And I think I knew which one it was. I felt a connection to one of them. Just through pictures and stuff, I definitely felt a connection to one of them. And again, just didn't know if I needed to know anymore. And waited. And again, I'm doing all the legwork of this too. So I'm going through this, the emotional one, the one worrying about every step of the way and everything going on. Finally, there was another girl who took a test and it eliminated her father as my dad. And all of a sudden it was like, holy crap, I know who my dad is.
Wow.
And this was in November of this past year, I think is when all the tests came back, was in November of 21. And I didn't really know what to do then. After that information, what do? Call somebody up and go, hey, so I'm your daughter.
What did you do?
So I thought about it. I wrote a letter. I deleted the letter. I wrote another letter. Went back and forth for a number of days. And a very dear friend of mine said to me, she said, part of you finding your dad is about taking control of your life and taking your power back. Right? And I said, yeah. And she's like, well, what if he doesn't know? Isn't part of taking your power back knowing that that you could be, unearthing a secret for him as well that he may not have ever been told about? And it was like, poof, like hit in the face, like, yeah, you're right. You're right. Maybe that is the end game in this. Logged into Facebook that very day because, the internet's always listening. And I'm scrolling through Facebook and the little thing pops up about people you may know or suggested friends. And who do you know is my very first suggested friend. But the man I just found out was my father. I'm sitting there looking at it like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, well, I've already got the letter written, so it's now or never. So messaged him, sent the message to him, and was very clear, very, very clear in the message that I was not looking for anything. A lot of this was about me taking my power back, wanting him to know the truth as much as I knew the truth, because I didn't know if he knew anything. And I told him, don't feel obligated to respond. Writing this letter was part of my healing, part of me getting over that. And of course I hoped he'd respond. But I told him, there's no pressure here. I just want you to know what I have found out, so you have all the information as well. Had a response from him, I think, in under an hour. And it was awesome. It was really cool. Like, here I was talking to my dad for the first time. The neatest thing is, he asked me in the first couple days, he asked me if I wanted him to take a DNA test. And he said, it's clear that I'm your dad, but you may need that. And I was like, I absolutely do need that, because I can't know without knowing.
Right. 100% knowing, right?
Yeah. I need to see it on paper. I can't let there be even a little question in the back of my mind about it. And I told him, I'm like, listen, with my luck, so many weird things have happened that it would end up that you're not my dad, and there's some like long lost brother somewhere that nobody knew about. So he was wonderful, ordered the test right away. And then we waited and waited and waited and waited for the test results to come back. And they did take forever to come back. But we knew he was my dad. I mean, you could tell the way we talked, the way that we were joking about things. It was like, I have to be this man's daughter, because I've never found somebody I'm so similar to.
So how was that first in-person meeting with your dad?
Oh my gosh. So we went for lunch. My husband came with, because there was no way I was going by myself. I was such a nervous wreck. And so we went for lunch, and we got there first. I thought I was going to get sick sitting at the table waiting. And so went to the bathroom. By the time I came out of the bathroom, I walk out, and my dad, there he is, standing talking to my husband. And I'm like, oh, God. Back to me, like, what do I do? Do I run? Do I walk? What do I do at this point? And I hear my husband go, oh, here she is. And he turned around and gave me the biggest hug that I've probably ever received in my life. This big hug, and I lost it, of course. But we did not have our DNA test back at this point, and there was no question in my mind after getting a hug from this man that he was my dad. No question. I tell people all the time, because they're like, how did you know? People ask me that all the time. What do you mean you knew? And I said, listen, you guys have kids. You know that feeling when you give birth to a child, and they hand you that baby for the first time. And there's that instant, almost like electric, like, just connection between you and this little being. And that's the only thing I can liken this experience to, of getting this hug, was like, I was hugging my dad for the first time, and I'm feeling that same connection with him that I felt with each of my kids. And it was just such a beautiful, it scared the hell out of me, not gonna lie. Like, it really shocked me. I was not expecting to feel that so quickly and so quickly. I'm kind of a standoffish person sometimes. So feeling that so quick was just all of a sudden like, wow, here we are, having lunch with my dad.
Wow. Yep. Having lunch with your dad. And And your husband there, that was awesome that he was there to help support you, right? And then what was next? I mean, what did you decide that you two did want to have a relationship, or how did that go?
A lot of it is blurry. A lot of that first lunch is very blurry to me as to what we talked about. But at the end of our lunch, when we were getting ready to leave, I asked him, I said, this might sound like a weird question, but I said, I just have to ask. And I said, how comfortable are you with us talking about this? And he's like, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, there's been a lot of people online following the story. There's been a lot of people that have been following this for years, since my childhood, friends, and now more people as I've gotten older that have followed it. And I said, if I post something on Facebook, it's going to go crazy. And he's like, he looked at me and he goes, of course we're going to tell people about this. He's like, you're not a secret. And those words right there, like those, probably the most important words that have ever been said to me in my life.
Hmm.
Just to hear that from him and just say, you're not, he wasn't ashamed of me. There was no hesitation. He's like, I'm already telling people about you.
That's so cool. I mean, and he seriously did not have any inclination that he had a child. Wow. Wow. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Had never been told, and him and his wife never had children of their own. So can you imagine the shock? And you're going from no kids, no grandkids, to suddenly a daughter and a son-in-law and 4 grandchildren. That's a lot.
Yeah, what a gift for sure. I've seen the pictures of you all on Facebook, and you all look pretty darn in love with each other. So what a gift.
It's been beautiful. My kids have opened up to them and just really taken to them so quickly. You can just see that instant connection that they have, not only to my dad, but oh my goodness, to his wife. I mean, they just adore her, and I adore her. I just, I've told a lot of people that I am so lucky and so blessed to have found my dad, but I am also so lucky and so blessed to have found a mom.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, because that is definitely who she is.
I got goosebumps just you
I know,
hearing that. Yep.
Just teary-eyed.
Yeah. Yeah, to get the whole package. You got the whole package.
And it's been so neat too to see the similarities, when I talk about earlier saying, wondering where my kids got certain traits from, and to see especially my boys, to see them with my dad and just going, wow, they are so much alike. Some mannerisms, some just behaviors, some just goofiness. It's wild to see. And I love this. I love that my husband was able to come with for that first lunch, because when we got home that night, he sat down with me and he said, I just have to tell you, he goes, that was the weirdest experience of my life. Because he said, you have a pretty interesting personality. And I do. I'm goofy. I'm goofy. I've got this very out there personality with some things. And he goes, I'm not being rude, but I've never met another person like you until today.
Wow. Well, that kind of confirmation.
Yeah. He goes, just watching the two of you and watching your mannerisms and watching some of the things that you say, that are the same. And, he goes, the sense of humor and all of it. Like, we order the same thing to drink whenever we go out to lunch. We drink Diet Mountain Dew. Who knows why? I don't, as we've gotten to know each other too, found out that both of us as children sat with either records or our tape decks and would sit there and write out every song lyric into notebooks. Everything. I mean, every lyric to the end, and have notebooks full of them. And I did that, oh my gosh, probably every night. I would sit there. I had to have every lyric to every song of every tape or CD that I owned. And he did the same thing. So
So lots of similarities, and I'm imagining that will just deepen the more, your relationship goes with them.
and probably the most poignant out of all of them is I had talked to a local tattoo artist about getting a tattoo on my wrist, a semicolon tattoo on my wrist. My left wrist, for some reason, I have no idea why my left wrist was so important to me, but that's where I needed to see that tattoo. That's where it had to be. And so when we went out to lunch that first day, we were talking about tattoos, and he was telling me about some of the tattoos that he has, because he has some of his brother's names tattooed on him that have passed away. And he pulls his left sleeve back, and he has a semicolon tattoo on his left wrist. So just, again, you can't make this up.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah, you can't make it up. That is for
no,
sure.
no.
That is for sure.
No one would believe it. They'd be like, that's way too out there. That's way too far out there. That would never happen.
Well, and you mentioned, I know when we talked before, that you have a real desire to help other people who might be going through this similar challenge,
Yes.
to maybe just show them the steps, or, however that wants to be. And I know you gave an email address out, which we'll post in the notes. But if you want to share that, while we're talking right now, we can do that.
Well, I'll share a little bit about why I want to do this too. I was a part of some really great groups on Facebook that allow people to act as search angels. So someone from the outside looking in, to help you go through the DNA and to help you, because it's confusing. I mean, it's, unless you are a science person, it can be really confusing. And I was really blessed to have a couple people that, when I was overwhelmed with things or I couldn't look at them with the eyes of somebody not emotionally attached, I guess is a way to put it. They would look at him and go, no, you're looking for this, but this is what's happening right now. You're reaching over here, but we have to come back to this because this is what's real. And I don't think I would have gotten as far as I had without them. The only reason I ever took the second DNA test was because they had told me that for my genetic makeup and my ethnicity, taking this one is going to have a bigger database and more people that have tested. Never would have thought about that, so that's why I took that second test. So I have ended up with the fairy tale ending, and not everybody's going to get that fairy tale ending, and I know that, and I want to be very forward with people about that not everybody's going to get this wonderful story that I have gotten. But I'm so blessed to have gotten this ending that I want to be able to take what I have learned and help other people in their journeys. There's so many people. these groups that I'm in for people that are looking for unknown parents, there's tens of thousands of people in these groups. And some of them are adopted people looking for birth parents. A lot of them, though, are people in my same position who just never were told who their fathers were. And when they unite with their fathers never knew about them.
Wow. I had no idea that it was that, that big of a number of people out there searching for that, the unknown.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, and there are some situations that are, there's hurt involved with it. Obviously, there's going to be. When it comes to any family secret, you don't know what you're gonna uncover. But you feel like such more of a complete person when you have that answer as to why you're here and who you're here and why you are the way you are.
Right. And at least have, the information like you talked about to fill in the blanks for health questionnaires and just the knowing, whether you want to move forward with it or finding out it might not, they might not be your cup of tea. You might not be their cup of tea, but at least to have the information so you don't have this big secret or big question hanging for your whole life.
You drive yourself crazy.
Yeah.
You drive yourself crazy with that secret. At least knowing and at least having that information and being armed with it and being able to work through that information then, good or bad. Right. Being able to work through it and just know that this is my truth. This is who I am and nobody can keep it from me because it's my truth.
Right.
Not somebody else's truth.
That's right. And that's the important part is you're doing this for you and your family.
Right.
And bottom line, that's what's true for you. Yeah. So do you want to share that email address for people if they're interested in getting in touch with you?
Yeah. So if anybody, if you have questions about what your next steps are, or you really do want help along the way, I'm open to both those things. I do have a Facebook page called No Longer Secret on Facebook that you can message me through. And I try to share when different DNA companies are doing sales, different things. I would like to get to a point at some time where I have some sponsors. So there's people who, if they can't even afford those DNA tests, we can find a way to provide them.
Oh, what a great idea.
Because why should $100 or a couple $100 hold you back from that? And then I also have an email that I started. It's called nolongersecret.nicole@gmail.com. So if you are not on Facebook, feel free to email me, or if you're more comfortable, feel free to email me, and I would love to be that help, and see where it leads, and see who I can help on their own journey.
That's awesome, Nicole. Do you want to, as we're winding down, do you want to say a little something about your store, your sweet store in Sturgeon Bay?
I love my little shop. What all normal people do in the middle of a pandemic is open a brand new business. So we opened last April, and I have this goofy little gift shop right in downtown Sturgeon Bay on 3rd Avenue. It's called Purple Bird Studios. And I think I've mentioned to you before, my grandma was a bird lover. So we knew a bird had to be part of our name. And there's a picture of her in here too. She was an amazing, amazing lady in this county and in this community. So there's a big picture. I think it's her high school graduation picture that I have up in the shop, and she watches over all of us. But yeah, I'm right down on 3rd Avenue. We're in a little kind of a strip mall called Park Place Mall. You literally can't miss it when you come down 3rd Avenue, because it kind of almost looks like an old movie marquee out on the outside, and it's awesome because if it's raining, there's like four or five shops in here that you can hit up, and we're all goofy and we're all fun. And
And you've got
It is
some
hard to
really cool things in your store, very cool things in your store.
Oh, this is the sense of humor that I talk about that I share with my dad because we're the snarky store with really goofy stuff. We have a lot of jewelry though too. I make a whole line of jewelry out of recycled items and stuff that would end up in the trash otherwise, which is super fun.
That's awesome. That's
And that's the
awesome.
other cool thing. I go back to this connection with my dad and his wife too. She's an artist and she makes jewelry. Like there's so many similarities between all of us, and art it transcends, So
Well, I look forward to stopping in to visit you when I get up there.
mhm.
And I want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. It's a beautiful story.
Well, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to share it. It is my favorite thing to share. My
I
favorite
get
thing to
it.
talk about.
I totally get it. And I hope you have an incredible summer with with the whole family, and you have even more stories to share.
Oh, I can't wait. I really cannot wait. We're still in that year full of firsts. We're gonna get our first Mother's Day coming up together where I get to celebrate with her, with his wife for Mother's Day, and there's a lot of firsts coming yet in this
Yeah.
coming. And
Well,
then
I'm
it's gonna
so
be just as exciting to share the seconds and thirds too.
yeah, right. But yeah, there is something about the firsts, right?
Yes.
How important they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on, and thanks everybody for listening.
Thanks for listening to Honor Your True Story. If you loved what you heard, please share this podcast with a friend and be sure to subscribe, rate, and review at Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen in.